Life is precious. I think we would all agree. But often we find that we take the very things that we do in life every day for granted until something happens in the blink of an eye. Hello, I'm Tom Russo, and this is the podcast In a Blink of an Eye. This is our initial podcast, and I'm going to share my story, where in this, we discuss stories from ordinary people whose lives are changed in an instant and how they overcame through faith, courage, and determination. Join me on this podcast for uplifting stories of how people face various challenges and learn to not only survive, but to thrive. This first episode, as I said, will give my story. While I would never compare my struggles to others, it is mine and it is personal. As a boy, I grew up loving my home with two fantastic parents. As an only child and as an only grandchild, some would probably say I was spoiled a bit. I loved sports and school and excelled in both until about the 7th grade, when a broken leg on the baseball field marked a sharp deterioration of my athletic skills. Academics, debate, and more filled my activity calendar. Though I continued to play sports, I did well in school and had some great friends along the way. One thing that always plagued me, though, was my eyesight. Starting in about 4th grade, my eyesight deteriorated every single year, and the only thing that aided me were large, thick Coke bottle glasses. They were heavy, they were bulky, and they were not very attractive. By the time I was in middle school, I grew to absolutely detest these, and I often felt picked on by those that choose to deride other people. High school came and I learned of contacts, and I absolutely loved the way my looks changed virtually overnight. I had lots of friends, and high school was a wonderful time for me. It set me up for college at Texas Tech and then ultimately my adult life, all while wearing my precious contacts. I met my future wife, Cindy, in the summer of my senior year in high school, and 3 years thereafter, we were married. We've been married for over 37 years now, and I have been blessed beyond belief with not only her, but with 2 wonderful children and 2 amazing grandchildren. The blessings truly are endless. Banking in the financial industry became my career path out of school, and I spent about 32 years learning the ins and outs of the industry. By this time, I was about 52 years old, still wearing my contacts. Some would say abusing them, keeping them in for weeks at a time without taking them out. I would get an annual mild bacterial infection here and there that with a couple of days rest and some antibiotics, all would be normal. So I thought. After leaving the banking industry, I felt compelled, no, I felt called by God to become a teacher. I knew our school system needed teachers, and I felt I could meet the challenge. After some brief online courses and the ability to pass all of the tests required, I became a certified teacher and a coach in the state of Texas. Still wearing my contacts. 2 years in Aldine ISD in Houston and 3 in Waller ISD in Texas allowed me to see many miracles with the students I coached and I taught. I was able to help on the fields and in the classrooms, and truly felt, even if it was in some small way, that I was making a difference. Until May 16th of 2025, in the 3rd period class, a young lady in the class raised her hand and asked, "Coach, why is your left eye so red?" I didn't know it was. It didn't hurt. I didn't feel a thing. But little did I know at that time that was to be my blink of an eye moment. As I got home, I figured I probably was having one of those annual minor irritations from my abuse of my contacts, and I quickly took them out and figured I would wear my old, worn out glasses for a couple of days and all would be fine. After 2 days, my eye became very irritated, and my wife convinced me to at least try to contact a doc in the box, video doctor, to get an antibiotic. I must confess, I am a doctor, dentist, and needle phobe to the nth degree, and getting me to go to the doctor, even online, is tough. Some might say a stubborn man. The doctor looked at my eye and said instantly that I had a mild bacterial infection and prescribed me some mild antibiotics. After a few days, I was still teaching in my hated glasses. My eye and face began to swell, so much so that my spouse pleaded with me to go to urgent care. Begrudgingly, I went, and this doctor gave me some much stronger antibiotic drops for my eye. The key was it was for bacteria. The swelling went down, but my vision seemed to be getting much worse in that eye. So much so that I could see very little. Once again, my medical professional pharmacist wife insisted that we go to an ophthalmologist. The day of the appointment, she asked me what was on my eyeball. Of course, I couldn't see it, and she said there's something white that's taken over almost half of your eyeball. When we got to the office, the doctor stated that the infection had caused a corneal ulcer. I'd never heard that term before. They immediately started me on a full array of other eye drops to fight the bacterial infection. After just a few days, the headaches became so intense and I was dizzy and nauseous virtually all day. We went back and it was worse. I had another corneal ulcer. And she then called the corneal specialist to come and take a look. They took a culture of my infection and sent it off. By this point, I had no sight at all, and my eye looked like a zombie eye, all white in the middle and still red all around it. The culture came back negative for everything. Very strange, but he said that we would have to have a corneal transplant to restore my sight. Now, please recall that I'm a doctor phobe and a needle phobe. Surgery is not in my wheelhouse. But that intensifies when you talk about hospitals. But with my faith, family, and friends, including my great friend Guido Piggott, I gathered the strength to go to the surgery, and with a sincere hope that after a couple of months of recovery, all would be back to normal. But I was wrong. After the surgery, the doctor told us that he found a substance in the back of my cornea that he had never seen before in all of his career. He felt confident that he got the infection out, however, and sent the substance off to pathology to determine what it was. 3 days after the surgery, and still recovering from it, I started developing more problems. And what these were called were hypopyon. These hypopyon started taking over my new cornea. The infection had gained more ground, and I went back in an emergency visit. And as I go back, the doctor, I could tell, was very concerned. So much so that he sent me to an additional doctor. This was a retina specialist because he was a cornea specialist, which is the front of the eye. The retina is the back of the eye. So I go to the retina specialist, and my eye is so swollen that they cannot do an ultrasound on it. And because of this, he chooses to give me shots in my eye. Now, I have not experienced a lot of pain in my life, but the pain that I felt with shots in my eye and knowing that I had to look at it was almost unbearable for me. It was certainly a low point. But what he injected me with were more antibiotics for bacteria. Almost immediately after leaving the doctor's office, the lab report came back with what it was that was in my eye that he took out, that he found so strange. It was a fungus, and not just any fungus, an exceptionally rare fungus, one that is typically only found in third world countries. I have not been to any third world countries. Not sure how I obtained this, but I did. So, my eye deteriorated, my new cornea was trashed, and I had to have a second surgery. And in this second surgery, my cornea doctor, before the surgery, told me that this was a last-ditch effort to save my eye. This was a last-ditch effort before they might have to actually remove my eye because they didn't want the infection spreading into my brain. That was scary. Probably the lowest I've been. Now you have to understand the headaches that I had, the dizziness, the nausea, the depression from losing your sight, trying to adjust to having only one eye. All of this was very, very difficult for me. I had to stay in the dark. Light bothered my eye severely, makes it water constantly. And I was scared. But before the surgery, my surgeon stopped and asked if it was okay if he could pray with me. And I said, of course. And before they put me out, that doctor held his hand on me and prayed the most beautiful prayer, asking for guiding his hands throughout the surgery and for helping me heal and helping me cope. And I was so grateful for that. That was the last thing I remember before I went into surgery. But that's where the good starts showing through and the prayers start getting answered. You see, I have a vast array and network of friends across the country that have started prayer chains for my eye and things like that. I had to, unfortunately, retire from teaching because school is about to start and I wasn't able to attend any of that. And so I reluctantly retired from teaching. And my fellow teachers and coaches all came and visited me here and took me out to eat and gave me a wonderful plaque and a very nice presentation. And I was so moved by it, even though I still had this depression. You see, I was feeling helpless. I was feeling like a burden. I was feeling depressed. Now, although I've had regular visits with that corneal specialist and a couple of more shots from the retina specialist, my headaches have been diminished to almost nothing. And I'm eating again. Throughout this process, I've lost over 25 pounds. Not the recommended diet that I would give. The swelling has gone down. And I've returned to normal activities, at least my new normal. I'm even driving. Trust me, I'm exceptionally careful. At our last visit, the doctor said that he's very pleased with the progress that my eye has made, and he feels strongly that we have saved the eye and that I might even be able to gain some sight back, maybe after 1 or 2 more repair type surgeries in several more months. While I'm still on the mend and I'm not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination, this was welcome news. Being able to keep my eye was important to me, and obviously, with the outside possibility of obtaining some eyesight back, I'm thoroughly excited. To me, prayers were answered, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to get back to my new normal. Learning to live and cope with one eye has its challenges, but I am coping. With the help of my faith, my awesome wife, Cindy, my family, my friends across the country, I'm confident that I can blaze a great path for the rest of my life. I am also blessed in many ways to be working with a special bank project that should lead to a full-time position for me, adding back to that new normal. And it will help out with some of those medical bills. My life changed in the blink of an eye, but I know where I'm headed. I always told my students every day and had them yell out. When I said carpe diem, they yelled seize the day. Every day. Seize every day because it's precious. You don't know when it might be your last. Lean on God. Lean on your family. You have the structure. God is always there for you. I appreciate you listening today. And if you like stories like this and you have one to share, please contact me for consideration for future episodes where I will interview you through the wonder of electronics. And I will put the email address at the bottom of the screen here. I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.